Okay. That's fine. Welcome to Scare Our Berries.
It still sounds wrong, but okay, whatever.
This October, we are doing our classic Halloween movie marathon.
And in case you couldn't see from the floating DVD, which I was totally not holding, we are today reviewing the Ghostbusters.
We will have 4 movies leading up to Halloween this October.
Yep. So, with that said, clearly I don't really have any Halloween decorations, so Snoopy, you're our main decoration. You are going to be our guest host. Is that okay? Snoopy says yes. So, Ghostbusters came out back in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
How well does it hold up?
Well, for the most part, pretty well. You know, apart from, like, lack of cell phones and older computers, it's kind of hard to tell that it's very old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well,
that's what,
one of the fun
30
facts,
years now?
Yeah, about 30.
34
maybe.
Years now? So
yeah, 34 years. What really stands out and really holds up well is, of course, the performances by all the actors, I would say. Because as we were watching it, you can tell some of the effects are quite dated and do not hold up that well. Specifically, the Zool dogs.
Yeah. I will say the ghosts, the few ghosts that they had actually do hold up pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they aren't computer generated.
Yeah.
They are puppets with some extra special effects thrown on top of them.
Which I think is the right way to do it.
Yeah, and certainly back in 84, that was definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
The demon dogs...
I mean, the practical effects on those were okay. The movement was good, except when they did certain shots. Like when it would break through the door. That shot, you can tell, it was not...
You know, the demon dogs are stop motion.
Yeah.
And they had to superimpose those over all the practical effects of, like, the doors breaking down and walls being destroyed. This movie is full of ad-libbing.
Yes, in fact, there was that whole entire scene with the party with what's the actor's name?
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis was almost entirely improvised.
It was one continuous shot as well.
Oh, yeah.
I know from personal experience how difficult one-shots can be. We did a music video back when we were in high school.
And we had to do...
I don't even remember what it was for.
Oh, I do. One of our school counselors was going overseas for...
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if it was the Army or Marines. That part I don't remember. But he was going over, and we were sending him a video of showing him our support, and because it was around the holidays, I think. One of the lines in the movie is that he's the heart of the Ghostbusters, and honestly, I would agree with that. The character Ray is definitely the heart of the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it seems like Bill Murray is the main focus.
Yes, the movie is written around Bill Murray, or Bill Murray's character.
Yeah, Dr. Venkman, who, surprisingly, some pretty famous actors turned down that role, like Michael Keaton. And unfortunately, they originally were going to they written it for Don Belushi, but while they were writing the movie, he sadly passed away. And then Dan Aykroyd would refer to one of the characters who would become basically a mascot for the animated series. Slimer was the ghost of Don Belushi.
Everyone but Bill Murray has aged.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you see Bill Murray in the news every so often, and he doesn't look like he's aged a day since this movie. On top of the actors ad-libbing, there were also some errors that happened on set
that
they decided to keep in. For instance, at the beginning of the movie when they're in the library and the bookcase falls over,
Yep.
and Bill Murray has some line about, has this ever happened to you before?
First time, right? First time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, the bookshelf was not supposed to fall over.
Yeah.
And the line was ad-libbed, and they just kept it in there.
Yeah.
Which, adds to the comedy of the movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of another a really funny actor, Rick Moranis.
Yeah. Gosh, I love Rick Moranis.
His character was a really odd one for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the movie felt like it was some Monster of the Week show that they decided to turn into a movie. And Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver kind of, at least at the beginning, they kind of felt like a special guest character.
Mm-hmm.
I love Rick Moranis. He pulls off that awkwardness.
Yeah, yeah.
So authentically.
Exactly. Gosh, he's he's one of my favorite actors from like older films because we don't really haven't seen a lot from him ever since like what was the latest film he was in?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I think was it Honey I Shrunk the Kids?
No.
No?
That wasn't the most
or Honey I Shrunk Ourselves because that one was later, right? Was that in the 90s?
Well, trying to remember the order because it was a trilogy.
Yeah.
Because you've got Honey
I Shrunk the Kids,
Honey We Shrunk Ourselves, and Honey I Blew Up the Baby.
I forgot about.
And I want to say that Honey I Blew Up the Baby was the last of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put something up on screen. I'll say, okay, so this is the last movie in the trilogy, and this is the most recent movie that Rick Moranis has been in.
Yeah, but this is a phenomenal actor. Even when he's possessed, it's just he puts on a great performance. You feel like he is being possessed, but you also feel like he's still the same person. Another actor though that I really liked, another character that I liked was Egon. I liked that actor's voice. What was his name? I've got handy thing with this. I got the name of the actors in here. Harold Ramis. I don't know what it is, but I love his voice, and I just really enjoyed the character a lot because he is a little bit socially awkward.
Well, I have to say, he and the other guy,
Peter Venkman or Ray.
He and Ray were a good balance between Dr. Venkman. At least in my opinion, he starts out as more of a skeptic.
Yeah, he does. I would definitely feel like that.
But he's kind of a jerk throughout the entire movie, and really the other two pick up a lot of the slack in the company.
Yeah,
and then we do have Winston, who
I honestly felt Winston was underdeveloped.
That is mainly because they had to rewrite his character and a lot of the scenes because originally Eddie Murphy was supposed to play Winston.
But he turned that down.
It was a ways into production that he turned it down, and they had to do rewrites and recasting. So I think that was a lot of the reason why his character was kind of off. I have to kind of assume that that's the reason why the first third of the film was a little odd in terms of the pacing. You get the introduction to the characters and the whole library scene, and then you jump ahead and they're looking at buying the building, and then
an old firehouse.
You jump ahead a couple minutes and they've got the building completely renovated.
Yeah, it jumps quite a bit.
Yeah.
Best thing I love about this movie, of course, is its popular theme song.
Yeah.
Which which I was kind of surprised to find out that it actually made it was like the #1 for song for 3 weeks. Well, I mean, it's a very catchy tune.
Yeah, it is.
And everybody, as soon as anybody asks if you're walking around the street, well, who are you gonna call? Everybody says Ghostbusters.
Which, while the movie was in theaters, to keep up its popularity, they the number that they use in the commercial in film, they made that a 1-800 number, and were actually showing the commercial on TV, and people could call that 1-800 number.
Yeah,
and they'd get a recording saying, "Well, we're out hunting ghosts right now," and they actually got quite a good call volume.
Going back to the pacing, so all of a sudden they got the building, they got it renovated, but also they got that commercial out pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
So it just seemed a bit
or
off.
what felt quick.
Yeah, it felt quick to us, but to that,
I mean, I'm sure, it'd been probably a couple months. When we're first introduced to the secretary, it seemed like she had been there for quite a while.
Yes. I kind of wish that we could get another great Ghostbusters film, which I know they remade with an all-female team, but you know how receptive that one was.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that.
And I mean, sexism aside, that I've never seen it.
I haven't either. And we need to.
But sexism aside, I've heard that it was just a bad movie in general.
Yeah, that's what I've heard in general too. But we should talk about Sigourney Weaver though.
She got put through a lot of crap in this movie.
Yeah, she did.
I mean,
her character did. And
well, yeah,
herself.
But I mean, having
those arms,
like the arms coming out of the chair at her,
and grabbing her, and then
grabbing at her. I know one of them was
getting
kind of pulling at her.
Yeah.
Shirt or
around the collar of the shirt.
Yeah. And getting pulled on the chair into the kitchen, and having to act possessed, which she did really well.
Well, she's a phenomenal actress.
Yes. Some of the faces she made were kind of weird. But
perfect. It's
she did them really well. The levitation scene.
I loved the levitation.
Apparently, they put her in a full body cast and raised her up using traditional stage magic. Mm-hmm. And they had
which blows me away.
They had everything hidden by the curtains in her bedroom. It really speaks a lot to the 80s with movie making, because that was a big time where they were starting to
experiment
experiment more and heavily incorporate computers and computer generated effects into the movie making process. And this movie is just a prime example of that.
Yes. When I think Ghostbusters, I think Halloween, and I also think the 80s, because 80s movies
it's that quintessential 80s movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a great overall movie and enjoyable, that I think I'm gonna have to make a tradition to watch it at least once every Halloween around October.
Yeah, I have my I can't fit any more time into my schedule in October because I am still doing my yearly tradition of watching through all the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Boy, you get the shit
every year.
You mean Shining? Shh. You want to get sued?
Eventually, they're going to get up to season 32, and I'm going to have to watch one episode every day.
Oh, good Lord.
That does eat up my time that I generally don't have around that time of year.
Yep.
I don't know if you get this reference, but Gozer kind of reminded me a bit of Ziggy Stardust.
Okay.
So,
oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that was a David Bowie thing.
Yes.
I don't know if those two are connected somehow, but that was definitely the first thing that I thought of when I saw Gozer.
Mm-hmm. One thing I found kind of weird was when Egon was mentioning the fact, oh, guys, by the way, don't cross the streams. This just seems like something you should say before, like, right before you test it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know they said they didn't test it, but after they shot it the first time, I think that would have been a better time for to say, oh, by the way, guys, don't cross the streams. Because 2 of them shot, right?
Yeah.
And that when they first tested it. So I just felt that kind of felt a little bit out of a place after they kept now shooting a couple times. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think that might have been for a comedy element. It's like, oh, now you tell us not to cross the streams?
Yeah.
And that might have been the point. But, and then the last thing I want to say, my favorite scene, of course, is with Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Yeah. We can't make it through this review without talking about the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Of course, because that is honestly my favorite scene out of the entire film. Because
and it is also a very iconic scene.
Exactly. When it exploded, fun fact, it was 50 pounds of shaving cream. All that goo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks right.
It looked, I mean, yeah, honestly, if you blew up an entire, like, after roasting a marshmallow, it kind of would look a little bit like shaving cream.
Although a marshmallow would solidify back up, which would make an even worse mess.
Yeah, it would.
What they had to deal with. They're just lucky it wasn't too realistic.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, that.
The EPA guy who got all that marshmallow goop poured on him. It was apparently 50 gallons. Yeah, 50 gallons worth of it, and it about knocked him over.
That's hilarious. What's the favorite part of the entire thing? Scene, anything, just anything we can think of. So I already got mine kind of ready. I think if it was an ad-libbed line, my favorite one is like when they're in the mayor's office and they're explaining, like, of what's gonna happen. You know, mass hysteria, volcanoes, earthquakes, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. I love that whole, like, each said something about, like, basically bad things are gonna happen. Please let us fix it.
I think when they are chasing capturing Slimer in the ballroom, and they've just absolutely wrecked the ballroom, and hotel manager. I
would assume it would be the manager.
Assume he was a manager. Was getting the guy with the keys to the room to unlock it, and they all come out, and Dr. Venkman just really starts talking him up to get money out of him, even though they haven't, or the manager hasn't seen what damage they've done inside the ballroom, and the comedy behind the idea of that scene was probably what I'm gonna. Well, it is definitely what I'm going to choose as my favorite moment from the movie.
Yeah. In case you probably noticed, I was looking down. I was checking my phone for anybody who had any thoughts, and still not there yet. But if you want to become part of future videos, make sure to use the hashtag after Barry credits. It will be up here somewhere. And with that being said, it's time for final verdict. Scoring. Would you like to go first, or shall I?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, like I've said, it's this is a very iconic movie. Definitely an icon of the 80s itself, as far as film. A great movie to watch around Halloween time. It was the highest grossing comedy of all time until Home Alone came out. I'd have to say, with all of the, if I'm holding it up to today's standards, I'd say, and for back then, I feel comfortable giving it around a 4. Because, again, there are some things that, it clearly dates itself. but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's still quite enjoyable, and the performances are definitely the highlight of this film.
Yeah. I am also going to give it a 4 out of 5. It kind of shows itself as a movie that was rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of last minute. And, the even effects, well, including the effects, which a fair amount of it has held up well. Not all of it. And, that's fine. That's not much for me in my book.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is just a wonderful comedy. I can't say that it was well written because there was so much ad-libbed.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very well edited.
Yes.
And there's so much you can accomplish in editing to fix a movie that is not going well.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars.
Wait, which one?
The original.
Oh, the original. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, 4 out of 5, giving us a grand total of 8.
And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Click around wherever we put the video, a link to another one of our videos. Leave a comment, and maybe in the future I would like to do looking up the hashtag after buried credits, and to see some of your thoughts and reactions.
And maybe if you're lucky, your tweet will get featured in the video. We will be back again with another classic Halloween movie as we count down to Halloween.
Woohoo! Bye.
See you next time.